With eyes that can see it all. Cameras to capture your image at City Hall. Realize they listen whenever you make a call. If you want a revolution, I really give it to y'all.
It's the army that bands against bands of dead presidents, determining the life of mankind. Enough cancer is out with bleed favor. And guns bleeding in streets for cheap paper. I said medicine smelled the plastic compound. Realize when the shit gets drastic, hit the fail when the system's a mess. The pyramids in my brother, right deep down.
With the power with Charles Jurassic, Nation T-Rex with covert tactics. Rise from the ashes, take back the atlas.
Bring the man.
Hello everyone, greetings and good evening. Welcome to the Collegiate Star League. I'm Jordan, the Jordude, and joining me today is Nomodogan. Tonight we head out to the West Coast for some great collegiate Hearthstone action. Finishing off week 4 for us is going to be UC Santa Cruz versus California State Northridge. UC Santa Cruz has playoffs in their eyes this half, while Northridge will have to play the spoiler role tonight. In our second match, we'll head down to Group 1 for one of the West Best, UCLA. 3-0 so far in the spring. They look to continue staying undefeated, while Harvey Mudd has an opportunity to leapfrog them with a win.
Yeah, it should be a really exciting series tonight, Jordude. I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. Of course, along with this stream, we'd like to thank you guys for watching. Our sponsors, as always, are Twitch. Big thanks to Twitch TVs for sponsoring the CSL, featuring our matches weekly. We're proud to be affiliated with the largest gaming stream provider in the world. We'd also like to thank Azus ROG. Azus is the presenting sponsor of the CSL this year. Azus makes some of the world's best gaming PCs, laptops, and monitors. And Azus is funding this season's travel to DreamHack and our prize pool for the year. So be sure to follow their social medias like @Azus_ROG. And thank them for sponsoring the CSL. You guys can also check out our social media over at twitter.com/CSL Hearthstone. So with that, we are looking forward to getting into this first match here. We've got the UCSC Banana Slugs versus the California State University Northridge Hearthstone team. And like you said, I mean, the Banana Slugs are 2-1 right now. They're still looking to get into a playoff spot. Whereas California State is at an 0-3 spot right now, so they are just playing the spoiler role. I mean, if they get a win here, I don't think they'll be able to do much with it because with three losses, I don't think they'll be able to get into the playoffs. But I mean, you got to go out with a bang, right? If you guys can't go to playoffs, then you might as well take someone else down with you, kind of thing.
Yeah, just
Um,
to ruin someone else's day.
yeah, something like that. But I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. You get these unfortunate pairings that go off depending on the way the scoreboard looks and other things like that. But yeah, I think we're getting the first players into their first game. Should be exciting to see what decks they bring to the table. I mean, as usual, we're expecting to see a lot of, or at least I'm expecting to see like a lot of Druid, Paladin, Mage. I think those are three of the top classes right now. Shaman, I guess, is up there. Warlock, that's around, and some people like to play Warrior. But classes like Hunter, Priest, Rogue, those are a little less common, I feel. Like I actually there have been a lot of Priests being played lately, but yeah, we'll see what the players bring. We're gonna have Prowo versus Get Low in the first game of the night. Also, just looking forward to after the first match. We have two matches tonight. So the second match is going to be UCLA versus Harvey Mudd, and that's a little bit closer in the score side of things. UCLA is 3-0 and Harvey Mudd is 2-1. So we'll see that match later tonight. As a win for either of those teams could definitely put them into playoffs, I think, especially UCLA being 3-0 so far. A great showing from them this season. But yeah, we're just getting the players ready to jump into game one, getting a few things sorted out here.
Yeah, I was just getting the players to get already. They got each other added, so they should be getting into game any minute now.
Mm. What kind of classes are you expecting to see, Jordude? What do you think the players
Um,
are?
I usually like to. I like to see class, or especially in this team format, I like to see like the more restrictive classes, the classes that are not as flexible to start off. To start off, so usually I like to see either like Druid or Paladin, just because later on when the classes gets eliminated, then you have less options, so they might be stuck with bad matchups. Whereas if you open up with them, then you have a better chance of getting a matchup you want.
Yeah, I agree. With this format being best of five, once a class is played, it can no longer be played for the rest of the series. Decks like Freeze Mage that have some really difficult matchups. If your opponents play their Warrior and their Druid, then the coast is pretty much clear to play Freeze Mage. Now, we did see that happen a couple of times on Wednesday, and once those two classes were out of the way, one of the schools actually predicted that Freeze Mage was going to be played, and they played Dragon Warlock with a Kezan Mystic teched in,
Oh
which
wow.
definitely won the game for them, which was, I thought that was some pretty good tech. I mean, predicting the Freeze Mage coming out and then having the Kezan Mystic ready to go seemed like a pretty good choice to me. I can't remember what school that was, but it was pretty clutch. I mean, that
Wow.
was that was great for them in that series. So we'll see if similar things happen here tonight. Because like I was saying, if you see the Druid and the Warrior get played, then you aren't worried about too much else with Freeze Mage unless they have those specific tech cards that can cause such a big headache.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Control Warrior and mid range Druid tends to be the worst matchups for Freeze Mage, but if you could dodge them or if they're played early in the series, then Freeze Mage is a pretty good bet.
yeah, for sure. We also see Rogue every so often. Some people are just Rogue specialists.
Oh yeah.
They like to stick with the class, even though I feel it's definitely one of the more difficult classes to do well with these days. If someone knows how to play Rogue, understands the class to a certain degree, they can definitely do a good job with it. Depending on what they play against, of course. I mean,
Yeah. I
if you
think
queue up
Rogue
your
has been
Rogue,
I think
go
Rogue
ahead.
has been getting like decent matchups, especially in tournament formats. Maybe not so much on ladder because on ladder they have like a lot of aggro decks,
Yeah.
but in tournaments there are some players that tend to shift towards the more mid-range decks where Rogue could really excel at.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have seen some schools bring a lot of aggro decks. I remember we saw one school just have a whole line of aggro decks, and I mean, that did really well for them. Just pretty much like every deck had Leroy Jenkins in it, even like their Warrior deck.
What?
It was Aggro Warrior, and yeah, I
Oh
forget what
wow.
school that was, but they ended up winning their series. I mean, if you bring all aggro, then I guess your opponent can't really be prepared for it. Because who expects every single deck that you play to just be aggro? But with that, it looks like the players have gotten into game. Let's see what they've got here. This is Prowo representing the University of California, Santa Cruz versus Getlow representing California State University, Northridge.
Yeah, damn. Two schools coming from California. I think
Yeah, maybe
actually
a bit
there's
of
a lot of
rivalry here.
There's a lot of California schools in this tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Hearthstone. I guess it's pretty popular anywhere, but California is kind of the main place for esports right now, where Hearthstone has been
Yeah,
getting a
for
bit more
sure.
popular. So maybe people have just heard about it from different people trying to get more involved in competitive Hearthstone, at least this kind of competitive Hearthstone. So Getlow has brought his Warlock and Prowess on Paladin. I mean, seems like this is a pretty aggressive Zoo Warlock. You typically don't see Leper Gnome in these lists, but
Yeah. It looks like the kind of list that would just top off at the Doom card.
yeah, I mean, especially with something like Leper Gnome, you want to be super aggressive. And Harrison Jones drawn for Prowo. Some interesting choices from both players so far. With the cards they have in their decks. I mean, I was thinking this was probably some sort of Secret Paladin, maybe a Defender of Argus teched in, but now it
It's starting
might
to
just
look
be
like a
something like a Control Paladin.
yeah. It definitely with the Argus and the Harrison. You don't see that too often in Secret Paladins, so it does look like it would be more of a mid range.
Yeah. Get Low deciding to coin out Haunted Creeper here along with his Voidwalker.
I'm okay with this because on turn 3, probably he wants to play the Imp Gang boss, so just getting as many minions out as he can now, and he's probably going to be able to curve out that second Voidwalker in his hand later on, anyways.
Yeah, possibly just empty his hand out for the most part for that turn 5 Doomguard so that he only discards one thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Turn 5 Doomguard is actually a lot stronger in some cases than people would give it credit for.
Yeah. Especially with Doomguards, one of the dangers of holding on to it for a long time is drawing your second Doomguard and then having to discard that to the first one. That usually feels pretty bad. So if you can get a decent play with the first one pretty early on, that's definitely something that's nice to take advantage of. But we see Getlow making some solid trades here, keeping his board, pretty resilient, pretty strong. Not a whole lot of damage represented, but that's the way Zoo functions a lot of the time these days. You just have a board that's really annoying to deal with and has a lot of good trade value.
Yeah,
Like, you can't really consecration a board like this. It doesn't really accomplish anything.
yeah. But for Prowl, what options does he have here? He could Cog Hammer, which is really not that great. Naked, Defender of Argus with 0 value doesn't seem that good. 4 mana and 2/3. But Consecrate actually just doesn't do anything either because after the Spider spawn and the Imp spawn, he's still going to have 4 damage on the board.
Yeah. I mean, all things said and done, I do like this Coghammer play the most out of all of his choices there because you can save the consecration for when the board is a little simpler. You don't really want to throw away the Argus, and if you just hero power, that's not that great. So I like the Coghammer. You at least take one thing off the board. You have the weapon to take out some things later. Now we see a Dark Peddler pick up a second Power Overwhelming for Getlow. That's a lot of burst damage potentially out of his hand there.
Yeah, he does have 8 damage of burst with 2 mana as long as he has a minion on the board. And Pro just playing the low zip here. The good thing about this Coghammer, setting it up last turn, is that he could use it to help set up a better Consecrate as well.
Yep. Seems pretty solid to me. A Lotheb for Getlow.
To answer his Lotheb.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's one of the best counter plays to your opponent's Lotheb. You just play your own and make it so they can't play their spells now. So I like it. Knife Juggler drawn for Prowo.
It's actually interesting because the aggro deck had more spells in their hand than the more of the control deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess with both those power bombings, he probably just has two in the deck from the start, and another one off Dark Peddler, so lots of spells going around. That implosion as well, of course.
So
I mean,
that
you
looks is
could.
actually pretty good for get low here because now the paladin really doesn't have too many options. I guess
Yeah.
he's going to go for the Knife Juggler Argus here, which is okay. I think he gets a value trade, but then the Juggler does hit the Imp Gang boss, which doesn't really do much here. I might have liked just trading the Lothab in and then playing the Harrison Jones, but then it would be a bit weaker to the implosion that we're about to see here.
Yeah, that is true. What is the implosion roll? It's gonna be a 2. I mean, Pro definitely needs to catch some breaks here. That's definitely what he's looking for. A low roll implosion. Slow down, get low a little bit.
I think no matter what it rolled, it'd still be okay for Pro because he's able to play the Muster for Battle into the Consecrate next turn.
Yep.
And that's
That
going to be
is
a
true.
really good clean. Luckily for Get Low, he has this Nerubian Egg, so it's kind of like a backup for the AoE that he knows Pro is probably going to have.
Yep. And an Avenging Wrath now picked up for Prowo. Wow, I
yeah.
mean,
I haven't
this
seen
deck
that in a
is.
while.
Yeah, this deck is so interesting. Is this like really the kind of deck you would want to lead off with, though? That's just what I wonder here. Um, it seems like Zoo could definitely be one of its worst matchups, depending on what kind of AoE it has. Like with Wild Pyromancer and Equality, that kind of stuff can help. But even then, Zoo can get around those cards. Like as we see right now, we've got a Nerubian Egg in play.
I'm actually thinking that if this Paladin could be a Reno Paladin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that seems really likely with all the card choices we've seen so far.
Yeah. So
That
far
would
we've
make
only
sense.
seen one of each.
Yeah.
And the Avenging Wrath would be a replacement for the Consecrate.
Yeah, the second Doomguard drawn now. Wait, is this just lethal damage? He's
Yeah,
got
this
two
is
power
just
bombings
lethal.
at Doomguard. Okay.
Because he had 13 damage from hand.
Yep, that works. I was like, oh no, he drew the second Doomguard. But then again, yeah, he got that second power overwhelming off that Dark Peddler earlier, and that's going to be a quick win for Getlow before Prowl can even show us
Wow.
what his deck actually is. But I think that's a very educated guess there. That is Reno. I think that's like a 99% chance that deck is Reno. Yeah, only seeing one of each card, but yeah, Getlow taking the win for California State.
Yep.
Pretty solid. I mean,
I think even if the Paladin had cleared the board here, he still would have been in a pretty hard position because of the 13 damage of burst. Like it's threatened any turn from the Warlock.
yeah, no matter what happened there, it did seem like it would be an uphill battle for Prowo in that situation. I just think that's not a matchup that you want to run into with that kind of Paladin deck. You don't have very efficient ways to deal with everything. Then again, Zoo is just like a really efficient deck, and it's kind of hard to play an efficiency game against it. So, yeah, next up we're going to have Rykon versus Kaboosh. I like that name, Kaboosh. I forget what that kind of thing is from, but yep, we'll get these players ready to go in just a second here. So yeah, once again, that's going to be Paladin out of the equation now for University of California.
And Warlock
And-
from University State of Northridge. So what do you think that they're going to try to bring in next?
I mean, I would definitely like to see something like Druid now from California State with the Paladin out of the way. That's usually one of the matchups you're more afraid of. Even though Druid can win, Druid can beat anything, but it seems like a pretty good time to just play it and see what other class your opponent plays.
Yeah, I
Um,
think if they bring out the Druid, it would be pretty good. The only thing that it's bad, I would say is bad against would be Zoo, coming from the Banana Slugs. But other than that, there's no really other bad matchup unless they queue into a Temple Mage, which is also a pretty bad matchup for the Druid.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. I think a lot of people like to bring Freeze Mage though. But yeah, we could see a tempo. We have seen a lot of different kind of decks.
Hmm.
Um, let's see.
Let's see if our players are ready here. They should be set to go.
Yeah, it looks like we're just waiting for one of them to get online.
Oh yeah. In the meantime, I'd like to use this time to give another shout out to our sponsors. Again, Twitch, big thanks to Twitch TV for sponsoring the CSL and featuring our matches weekly, and Asus for sponsoring the CSL, providing us the funds to help us send the top finalist teams to DreamHack this season. While we wait for our players, I guess we could play some music.
It's the army that bands against bands of dead presidents, determining life of mankind of cancerous out with breed fingers, green colors bleeding in streets for cheap paper. Assemble the masses, melt the plastic, compound, realign when the shit gets drastic. Hit the veil when the systems are last. It's just another pyramid scheme of government ranking. Charles Jurassic, Nation T-Rex with covert tactics. Rise from the ashes to back to Atlas. Bring the madness. Bring the madness.
Alright, it looks like our players are getting into game now. Again, we got Kaboosh from California State University, Northridge versus Rycon from University of California, Santa Cruz.
Awesome. And okay, so this is a little backwards, I guess. We see the Druid now from UCSC, and we see the Paladin from California State. A bit opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I was thinking that the Druid would come out from Kaboosh here because we know Paladin is out of the way, but I mean,
Oh, do you see the cards that are in the Paladin's hand?
not yet. I'm actually about to.
But anything can happen.
Oh boy. I think we did see this either earlier this week or last week, but it didn't do so hot from what I remember. I mean, I know the deck can win. The deck can definitely do well, but
Oh yeah, I've played this deck on ladder and I love it. The
mhm.
only matchup that I just really don't want to play against is the druid that Caboose unfortunately queued into right now.
Yeah, and wow, it seems like such a risk to take when Druid is such a good blind pick class. You don't really want to play a somewhat fragile deck into it, like this anything can happen deck. I mean,
I think any other matchup that any Fin deck could win, but the druid
yeah,
is just really hard.
yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely rough to run into it here. I mean, you know the Warlock is out of the way, but
yeah.
when you're when the Druid is still up, it does seem like a rough time to play it. But
From my experience playing the Murloc deck, when I'm playing against Druid, everything seems to be okay. But then they play Emperor's Swordsman, and then a couple turns later, you get like Force of Nature, double Savage Word.
yeah, their combo is a little faster than the Anyfin combo. I mean, Anyfin does have some great control aspects to it. Can definitely slow down the game a little bit and things like that. But Druid is just so good at closing out the game with combo.
Yeah.
All that burst damage.
I mean, for Kabushi, he does run the humilities, it looks like, so he probably has the double humility and the double auto peacekeeper, so he can reduce a lot of the minion damage. It's just that with Druid, you actually have to kill the minions rather than just nerfing them, because
Yeah,
they still represent bodies for the Savage Roar buff.
yeah. But luckily for Kaboosh here, Raikon does not have the best hand. It looks really clunky. I mean. He can't even wrath his own. He could wrath his own minion, I guess, but it's not really something you want to do. And if he ends up playing this Doomsayer, that could definitely cost him since there's a Doomsayer. Or sorry, if he plays this Keeper, that could definitely cost him since there's a Doomsayer in Kaboosh's hand.
Yeah, for Henrix, he's definitely going to have to consider keeping this keeper because he does know that it is Murloc Paladin, and most Murloc Paladins do run the Doomsayers. But he decides that he just wants to play the keeper for the board presence here, and he's even going to Living Root for two saplings, which I think is
Yeah.
okay because he does have the Savage Roar in his hand, so maybe he can just pressure the game out. But unfortunately for Henrix, we do see Kaboosh with the Consecration here, which can clear all these saplings out. But instead he does go for the Belcher and train with the True Silver, which I think is fine. I don't think Kaboosh is worried about Savage Roar just yet, long as he has his big taunt in the way.
Yeah, I think the plays from both players here were fine. I mean, as Raikon, you can't really know that your opponent has the Doomsayer in hand. And I mean, with his hand that he had, like, what else are you gonna do other than play Keeper? Just hero power and like play Living Roots and pass? That doesn't seem very good. I mean, playing Keeper isn't very good either, but you really just gotta work with what's given to you. And so because of that, I do like playing the Keeper.
Yeah.
And I like the response from Kaboosh as well. Just throwing down that Sludge Belcher. Don't really need a Doomsayer yet, especially now that you know that one Keeper is out of the way. You could potentially get a better Doomsayer later down the road. I would like to see this Wild Growth from Raikon, since he has an Azure Drake to draw anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So if he uses the Wild Growth now, he could go up to 8 mana, which could possibly get him Azure Drake and Shade of Naxxramas next turn.
Yep.
Let's say he decides to keep it. I guess if he's not going to play it now, he's going to just play it on turn 10 to cycle it.
Yeah, that just seems really clunky to me. I think he's already had a really slow opening so far and can't really afford to keep waiting around, but I mean, I understand wanting to save the Wild Growth for the draw, but you've got Azure Drake, you've got your draws for the turn. I think that's enough. I would have just liked to see the extra mana come into play, but we'll see how this works out for him.
Speaking of clunky hands, the Paladin has a pretty clunky hand himself. He can deal with his Azure Drake pretty nicely though with the humility, but he can't really play anything else in his hand. He definitely
Yeah.
doesn't want Doomsayer while he actually has a board over a Druid.
Two anything can happen in his hand. I mean, it's definitely not what you want to see. One, it's like all right. I mean, I've got two of these in my deck. I understand I draw one, but drawing both is just so rough. I mean,
Yeah, especially as he only played one Murloc so far.
yeah, you don't want to
It
just
turns
play
out
a
for
10
anything
mana.
can happen, you actually need to play Murlocs.
You don't want to just play a 10 mana Murloc War Leader. That doesn't seem very good. But
Just pick up the lay on hands here. I would actually like him to play the lay on hands now while he has the least amount of pressure on the board.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, any time from now he won't be able to find time to use it. But instead it looks like he's just going to hero power. I would have even liked him to... I even would have liked to see the Doomsayer come out just so the Druid can't really do anything with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to see him do something. I mean, if he's not going to lay on hands, then I would expect him to play the Doomsayer. But, yeah, he just chooses to do neither of those things here. I mean, lay on hands, 7 versus healing 8. That still seems fine to me. You want to draw those 3 cards right away, and that's a lot of mana. You can't really...
It's
especially
not like
when
he's
you have...
going to be overdrawing either.
Yeah. His hand has plenty of space, and he's got 2 other cards that cost 10 mana. I mean, skipping out on that lay on hand seems kind of greedy here.
If he decided not to lay on hands now, I feel like he's probably wanting to set up the Equality Consecrate, but yeah, we'll see what he decides to do. If he decides to lay on hands now to get that full 8 life.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like since he didn't do it last turn, he probably want to do it this turn, but oh man, it just looks so good last turn, but don't want to harp on that too much. I mean, that turn's gone. We just got to see how it plays out from here.
Yep.
Rykon draws a Piloted Shredder, so he could add a little bit to the board. I mean, he can place his Piloted Shredder in the middle of the Drake and the 1/1, and then place the Druid all the way on the left. I think I would like to see that placement. Would you also like charge the Druid here?
I think I would charge the Druid the Claw. You don't really need to taunt for anything, and you just really want the damage because you do have 2 Force of Natures and a Savageor in your hand. Like, he already has 20 damage on the board if he decides to combo now. So I also wouldn't even mind if he just combos right now, just to get the since he has 2 more bodies on the board for the Savageor.
Yeah, put your opponent down to 2, right?
Yeah, and it forces the Paladin to use his entire turn to heal.
Yeah, and in that case, he would probably end up just dying because you've got another Force of Nature to follow up. Could possibly draw into some more burn, but you see him go with the Druid of the Claw, and he trades and plays a Piloted Shredder. Okay, I mean, I don't think trading is that bad.
Yeah, I guess he wants to play around the equality here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine play. Miss out on a bit of face damage, which might end up hurting him a little bit here, since Kaboosh does have a lot of heal.
If he did go for face, he would have been able to just kill him the next turn with his combo. Since he knows that he has a full board, and he knows that the Paladin has to clear. So, yeah, he wouldn't have had time to heal that turn and clear the board.
It would have been lethal for sure, but you know, hindsight is 20/20.
He does pick up the second keeper for that Doomsayer, though.
Yeah, keeper is also another way to burn his opponent, so maybe he's gonna combo this turn, and then next turn he could force and keeper for damage, but looks like he might end up silencing the Doomsayer now.
Yep, I wouldn't mind it. There's not many targets that you need to silence besides the Doomsayer, or unless you want to silence your own minions after they get nerfed.
Yeah, so I guess he's kind of just all in for this combo lethal next turn, which I can respect. I mean, it seems like he understands that if this game goes a really long time, the Paladin is definitely favored. Yep, that Wild Growth did end up sitting in his hand for a while. Didn't really get to cash that in yet. Maybe it'll still end up doing some more over these next couple of turns if he ends up having to use it. But old Murkai killing off a Mad Bomber, doing some work. Antique Healbot putting him back up to 20. Pretty healthy life total, but a second Savage Roar drawn.
Oh man.
Not enough mana to play all these cards, but
So he's actually just 2 damage short right now. It looks like the Druid's gonna have to use that Wild Growth to try to find... Ideally, he would probably want to find an Innervate so he could go for a double combo. But if he Wild Growth into a Ancient of Lore, I don't think he would be unhappy with that either.
Yeah, because then the Ancient of Lore could also just draw you into an Innervate as well. Just chain some draws together. Um,
Then we got some Miracle Druid going on.
yeah, bring out the Gadgets and Auctioneer, man. Gadgets and Auctioneer with Wild Growth of 10 mana. You can draw three
Have you played that
cards.
deck before? I think it
Yeah.
was before Next Rammus with the Gadgets and Auctioneer and Moonfires.
Yeah, I think Life Coach really
Life Coach,
popularized it. I had seen people playing it before that, but
Yeah, those were the times.
yeah, maybe not as smooth as old Miracle Rogue, but then again, I guess we'll never have a deck that was that smooth. Yeah, just an Auctioneer. That deck was so good.
The Dr. Boom is a really good pickup here. So is the Equality. I think if you want Equality, you probably might as well just lay on hands first to see what you draw.
Yeah,
Which he does.
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Finally gets the lay on hands out.
Yep, for the full 8. Does have that going for him. Gonna trade in a Boombot Doomsayer, absorbing some of the damage. That's definitely what Kaboosh wants to see right now. Since this Doomsayer is pretty much worthless anyway. And
So besides that-
things are looking really good for Kaboosh here.
I think he wants to use the Humility over the Equality now. Probably wants to save that Equality for when he picks up a Wild Pyromancer or his second Consecration.
Oh man, I was just thinking an Innervate could just steal the win away, and it looks like it will. Innervate off the top for Rykon. This is lethal, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, 22 was
It's-
just the Treants plus another 8 with 2 minions on the board is already 30 plus the extra 3 damage
Yeah.
from the minions base attacks.
yeah, plenty of damage to finish off his opponent, and man, that's gotta feel bad as Kaboosh. It must have felt like he was just starting to stabilize, and
Yeah, it looked like he was going to
Innervate.
stabilize too. But
Yeah.
like I was saying earlier, the Druid, it looks like you're doing good on board. The Druid has like 1 minion on the board, and then they just double combo you.
yeah, wow, what a brutal game there. But yeah, that's gonna tie up the series 1-1, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, that's Druid out of the way. Druid and Paladin have been played for UCSC, and Warlock and Paladin have been played for California State. So still a lot of options to be chosen from. 7 other classes for both schools to decide what they want to play. Once again, once a class has been played, it can no longer be played for the rest of the series, whether or not you win or lose with it. So there's still plenty of things these schools could bring to the table.
Yeah, and like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, they did open up with least flexible classes like the Druid and the Paladins. The Warlock did come out too, which I would think is one of the most flexible classes, but
Yeah, Warlock is definitely, I think it probably is just the most flexible class. Like, you've got Dragon Warlock, which is its own thing. You could also have Malagos Warlock, kind of in that same category. There's Reno Warlock, there's Zoo Warlock, there's, like, Handlock, there's Demon Lock, there's Dreadsteed Lock. Like, that's 7 already, and there's probably more that I'm not really thinking about right now, but so many different ways you can take it. You could just play Hobgoblin Warlock, for all I care. I mean, there's so many...
I feel like I've been
Different
seeing a lot
ways.
more Hobgoblin Warlocks on ladder too. Like, whenever I see a Zoolock and then they're playing stuff like Argent Squires, and then I saw like an Anoyotron, I'm like, there's gotta be Hobgoblin in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Hobgoblin, it was just so funny when it picked up in popularity. Like, people had been trying it, but it seemed like Zalay was the first person to come through with, like, a really successful list.
Yeah, I saw like Zalea and Show do pretty well with it. I
Yeah.
tried it myself, but I never drew the Hobgoblin, so I was just playing a bunch of 1-attack minions.
Well, wasn't that, like, the nice thing about the Reliquary Seeker? It kind of was something you
Oh,
could
yeah.
have just in case you don't have
Oh, yeah,
Hobgoblin. I
Oh
mean,
man. Or if you
It's-
play Brand Bronze Spirit and then Reliquary Seeker, that's like the best combo. You get like a 9/9 for 1 mana.
yeah, that seems pretty solid. I mean, it does just give them a free BGH target, but I guess he's got Sea Giants in the deck anyways,
Yeah.
most of the time. But it does look like we're just waiting for the players to get ready here.
Yep, we are just waiting on the Santa Cruz side to find their player.
Yep, we could probably jump to a quick break just for a bit while we get ready to go here.
So stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Ice On by AU5 and Fractal, right here on the Monster Cat Podcast. Like always, tell us where you're tuning in from. Hashtag MonsterCat Podcast on Twitter or Instagram, and you may just make a new friend.
Sometimes you gotta wonder if it's worth it. I don't know. I can give you a hope that won't fade away, so you can keep your heart safe. You don't have to be downhearted. Let's return to where we started. You don't have to be downhearted, 'cause I will be the one fighting for you. I'm fighting for you. Takes hold, it never lets you go. Through the snow, we got a long way left to go. But you don't have to be downhearted. Let's return to where we started. You don't have to be downhearted, 'cause I will be the one fighting for you. I'm fighting for you.
Alright, we are back, and it looks like the game 4 has begun. Match 4 has started. We'll see if how things are working out here. We are supposed to have Adon versus Azareth, but there were some technical problems with one of their accounts, so I think team leader NA is playing against Wizlery, which is our set match 4. Oh, my bad. We're actually just going to go back to our scheduled game, which would be 8 on 1, 2, 3 from University of California, Santa Cruz, and Azara from California State University, Northridge. So that should be on its way in just a moment here. Again, to throw in some more plugins while we have that sellout moment, we like to promote our social medias, which is Twitter. Our new Twitter for Hearthstone is Twitter at CSL Hearthstone, and also hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/collegiate Hearthstone. As well as if you want to check out any of the missed matches, you could go onto our YouTube channel, and that's at youtube.com/CStarLeague. And that would be under the CSGO section.
Alright, it seems like we are going to be ready to get started. Sorry about those technical difficulties, everyone. There's a few issues that have been happening, but it seems like we're getting everything resolved, and we should be jumping into Game 3 here in just a moment. Once again, the series is tied up 1-1. And University of California, Santa Cruz, definitely looking for a win here. The Banana Slugs. Always like that team name. I remember it from last season. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, it seems like the players are just deciding on what decks they would like to play.
Yep, and we are actually just jumping in game right now. Yeah, Banana Slugs is like a pretty original, creative name. A lot of the schools just name their team name from their school name.
Yeah.
We got the Banana Slugs.
Yeah, I like it.
Santa Cruz. So it looks like we got Warlock versus Warrior. Typically Warlocks are usually favored in a lot of the Warrior matchups. As we do see the Control Warrior coming from Azarath's side.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I mean, Warlock, especially with that hero power, you can just out attrition the Warrior a lot of the time. And it does look like it's Control Warrior, judging by the Shield Maiden and the Bash that are in Azarath's hand. And he's going to be up against what looks like Add-on Zoo. No Fiery War Axe to be seen yet. Maybe Azarath will draw into one. But that'll definitely be important if he wants to win the scheme.
Instead of fishing for the War Axe, he decides to keep the Armor Smith and the Bash, which will curve into the Deathbite, which I think is a fine keep. He figures that he doesn't want to risk throwing away his lower cost cards for a bunch of legendaries. So maybe this will work out for him. He doesn't have the War Axe here, but with the Bash, I think would be very useful in helping him deal with the early threats, especially with the Deathbite. As long as the Warrior has one kind of weapon in their opening hand against you, they're normally in an okay spot. It's when the Warlock starts tapping that's when the Warrior starts to fall behind, because Warrior's really good at dealing with one threat at a time, but when they have to deal with multiple minions that Zoo produces, especially when they're sticky from like the death rattles, it's really hard for the Warrior to keep up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Fiery War Axe is a somewhat low chance of getting drawn into. So, holding on to the other early game card seems good. And deciding to go with the Knife Juggler here since it's protected behind the Void Walker. Just get some extra damage in. Is this going to be a coin bash from Azarath?
It's starting to look like it, but I think if he just plays the Armor Smith, it wouldn't be too bad as well. It's most likely that Adon here is going to trade the Knife Juggler into the Armor Smith after the Knife Juggler knives the Armor Smith for 1 damage for the trade, and then he can follow it up with just the Crow Taskmaster on turn 3, and then play Deathbite on turn 4, using the Bash for later to help clean up a minion.
Yeah, I would like to see him save the coin. I think, you play Armor Smith here, you lose your Armor Smith, that would be rough, but, wow, decides to armor up instead. This might be a bit greedy from Azarath. Like, if you play the Armor Smith, that's at least something to, like, distract your opponent in some way, maybe get a bit of damage onto the Knife Juggler and you can Cruel Task it, or your Deathbite will kill it incidentally, like, later on, but just deciding to armor up.
Yeah, he decides to play it slow. As a response, Adon decides to play it slow as well, just hero powering instead of playing what he had Nerubian Egg as an option of.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like he's playing the demon sort of variant with Voidcaller and Mal'Ganis. That combo used to be pretty popular a while ago. It's faded out a little bit, but people bring it back every now and then. It's still a solid combo. Whenever you can play this 4-drop that puts a 9-drop into play, like if you ever line it up, or with the Doomguard too, that's still a really solid play, because Doomguard without the discard side effect is worth like 6 or 7 mana, like a 5/7 charge.
Yeah, and I think if the Voidcaller just pulls at the Mal'Ganis, it could just be game on the spot. Looking at Azarath's hand, he doesn't have a good way of dealing with a big threat with a big game Hunter or an Execute.
Yeah, usually Control Warrior is great at dealing with some early large threats, with those cards like you mentioned, or even like a Shield Slam after comboing it with like a shield block. You can you can take out pretty much anything with Control Warrior, but none of those cards are in Azrath's hand at the moment, and I wonder if he's going to decide to kill off the Void Caller.
I think if I was Azarath, I'd be really scared of killing this Void Caller, especially because I see Adon dumping a bunch of demons onto the board. Looking at this play, it does look like that he wants to reduce the amount of demons in his hand, meaning that he probably has a big demon in his hand that he wants to pull out.
Yeah. The big game hunter draw makes you feel a little safer, but then again, if it's Doomguard, that would be really bad. That would actually be a lot worse than Mal'Ganis in this situation, I think.
Yeah, for Azarath, I think one of his better plays is to use the Death Bite to kill the Imp Gang boss, and then he does have the Crow Taskmaster that could deal with the Flame Imp. Or he could just play the Sludge Belcher, which is also fine on the board.
Yeah, I like the Cruel Taskmaster plus Armorsmith play myself.
It looks like he wants to coin out the Emperor here, which is also fine. He does have a pretty expensive handful of minions, so he might want to use this Emperor to help his curve a little bit, so he could play more than just one card a turn.
Yeah, it's almost like giving himself like a couple more coins right now because he'll have a turn 6 Doctor Boom.
It's
He'll
exactly
have-
3 innovates.
Yeah, yeah. Just like a lot of mana to work with.
Yeah, he does get to play Dr. Boom next turn. For Adon though, he does pick up the Doom Guard, so he's going to get a pretty solid demon coming out, which
Oh
is
yeah,
the Doom
that's
Guard.
perfect.
Yeah, this is really good because now we can't get BGH. If the Mal'Ganis came out, he might have been excited, but then his excitement would have been ended with the Big Game
Yeah.
Hunter.
And I mean, a Void Walker, just like the cherry on top here, he taps into it, puts it into play. And now he's got a pretty scary board presence. Like, it's definitely not the end of the line yet for Azarath, but things are looking pretty scary, especially since Mal'Ganis will be able to follow these things up later on and possibly buff them. That is in a few turns, maybe looking a little too far into the future here, but seems like Azarath is going to go with the classic Cruel Task Big Game Hunter combo.
Yeah, I actually like this play. I think it's given the conditions that he's on the board, he really has to deal with that Doom Guard. Otherwise, he's just taking too much damage here. Otherwise, if he just goes with the Dr. Boom, he does open himself up to just possibly dying.
Yep. And Azarath being really, really careful with this Armorsmith. I mean, he didn't play it on turn 2. He's not playing it now. I wonder when he's gonna play it. He's waiting for like the right situation. Maybe it's just gonna be when he plays Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, hide it behind a taunt.
Yeah, I feel like I might have liked to see it this turn just to have a little bit more of a buffer there. Like his hand is pretty strong. He's got Baron Geddon, Dr. Boom, Alexstrasza, so I feel like as long as he survives, he should be in a good spot here. But I mean, I can understand holding on to the Armorsmith. All right. I think Baron Geddon actually looks okay this turn.
Yeah, it's okay. It only takes off 1 damage from the board, or yeah, 1 not even 1 damage because the Imp is going to spawn after the Geddon. So he's still going to
Yeah.
have 5 damage on the board. I wouldn't mind setting up the Death Bite here, or you could just go with Dr. Boom. Your opponent only has 5 damage on the board, you're at 20 life. I think Dr. Boom here is one of the better ways of trying to take control of the board, because next turn you do have like either Alexstrasza or Death Bite and Sludge Belcher, so your curve is a bit better. And if you just play the Dr. Boom now, you could also probably just play the Armorsmith, just because you have 3 other minions on the board and your opponent just used an Abusive Sergeant, so it's going to be hard for them to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, is he gonna play the Armorsmith finally? We'll see. It looks like he does decide to go with the Dr. Boom. I like this play a lot for sure. Yep, finally plays that Armorsmith. It's time. I mean, I think he realizes his time is running out, so if there's any time to play an Armorsmith and try to survive, this is it.
Yeah, I really like this play because just that 1 turn he evened up the board and he has a Dr. Boom, which Adon can't deal with right now. Well, he can deal with it, but in the form of the Power Overwhelming. So I guess that wouldn't be too bad, just power overwhelming that boosts the sergeant and trade that and the imp in.
Yeah, and I don't think Azarath will mind seeing his Dr. Boom die in exchange for that, because with one power overwhelming down, then you realize there's like less burst, less trade value for your opponent. I mean, you hope these boom bots, you hope that one of them doesn't kill their Nerubian egg, because that would be pretty annoying to give him that death rattle for free. Like optimally, I think Addon wants to use the power of a woman to enable the egg, but then again, you want to be concerned with things like brawl, and stuff like that. So yeah, just keeping his egg in play.
He's also going to be able to try again extra imp, which is good for setting up the Mal'Ganis next turn.
Oh, what an awkward boombot. It just goes face. I mean, there are 4 minions on board, and boombot just gets smart mode, 3 damage to face. Fair enough, Mr. Boombot. Fair enough.
Yeah, so I think Azarath actually has some pretty good options here. He could go for the Deathbite to set that up, and next turn the Whirlwind's going to clean up a lot of minions. He also has the Baron Geddon, which can also clean up a lot of minions right now as well.
Yeah, he could Deathbite and Sludge Belcher in one turn, thanks to that Tharisten earlier on. I think Alexstrasza is not that great. Like it's definitely a valid option.
It's
But,
it's an 8/8, but you're only doing 1 damage to your opponent with the Battle Cry. I feel like you would probably use the Alexstrasza more as a way to heal if your opponent starts to run out of time and he just starts going face. So if you use the Alexstrasza to heal while you could use your board to regain the board.
Yeah, it's a nice way to stabilize later on. And looks like Azarath is gonna decide it's time to start cleaning these minions up. Actually just cashes his opponent's egg in for him and starts to deal with these minions. I mean, they are all 1 health, pretty
Yeah, I
much,
really
besides
like
that
that
Haunted Creeper. Yep, he's got plenty of HP to work with. I don't think it's too big of a deal to just break that Nerubian egg, tank the damage, and start cleaning these minions up. You gotta do it eventually.
Yeah, and what's nice for Azarath is that he's played Deathbite after the Haunted Creeper. So the way the Death Rattles work is that the Haunted Creeper is going to spawn the Spiderlings before the Whirlwind effect. So the Deathbite can clean up everything here. What's left is just going to be the 1 imp from the Imp Gang boss.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Mal'Ganis, the play for add-on. I mean, you get some buffs. You can make another imp off your Imp Gang boss.
Yeah, I like this play because he does have an Implosion and a Doomguard. So if he's able to keep this Mal'Ganis on the board for next turn.
Ooh, another boombot to face for no damage.
Yeah, that's definitely not what Azarath wants to see. Actually, though, he has an okay play with tanking 9 damage by using the Deathbite into the Mal'Ganis. First, he could trade into the Spider with his Armorsmith. Then he could play the Baron Geddon, or he could attack with the Deathbite and then play the Baron Geddon after, and it would clean up everything on the board.
Yeah, but if you take 9 damage, you'd be at 7, and then Baron Geddon will put you to 5. Or I guess you could heal up. You could also play an Armorsmith.
He could play an Armorsmith first too, and get a bit of extra life. Would he be dead though? He does. Adon does have a Doomguard, but he would be at.
Well, he gets 1 heal off the first hit off the Haunted Creeper, and then he'll have 3 guys in play, so I guess he would gain a total of 4 armor. Or, okay, I'll gain some more off Baron Geddon as well.
Oh, he forgot to attack first into the.
Yeah, that's actually.
Spiders. I don't think it's too relevant because he's playing Baron Geddon anyways.
I mean, it keeps his 1 Armorsmith alive. Okay, he just wants to maximize armor gain immediately. But it might have been better to attack into the 3/1 Imp.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Either way, he's still alive, right? Or no, that
Direwolf in the middle,
I
and
think
then
is enough.
yeah, Direwolf in the middle, and you play Doomguard next to
Yeah,
it.
I think that's exact 10 damage, right? Because it's
I think
4
so.
damage from the 2 imps, and then plus 6 on the Doomguard would be 10 damage.
So does add-on see it? I mean, some people would miss that you just place the Doomguard next to the Direwolf for lethal.
Yeah.
Alright, looks like he does see it.
So I think
And
that trade on the Armor Smith actually made a difference here. Like if he traded
Yeah.
into the Imp, he would have been 2 off lethal.
yeah, and look at his hand. He's got shield block and Alexstrasza. He had plenty of ways to heal up after that, but add-on is going to steal the win away from him. And that's going to be a 2-1 lead for University of California.
Overall, I think the game was pretty well played from both sides.
Yeah, I think a few mistakes here and there. It does kind of come down to personal preference at some points, but well played to both players. Was definitely an interesting game, I'll say that. It wasn't just like a straight stomp either way.
Yeah, the Warrior actually had quite a bit of AoE that time, but Zoo's just so sticky, so hard for control warriors to deal with all the minions that come out.
Yep, for sure. And it seems like we're going to be jumping right into this next game as I think both the players are ready.
Yep, it looks
Just
like it's
deciding.
in the challenge screen. Yep, and we are just going to go straight into the next game. So we have team leader NA from California State University of Northridge versus Wiz Larry from the University of Santa Cruz. And we got the Freeze Mage versus Warrior. This is going to be a tough one for team leader NA here. Maybe Wizard Larry suspected team leader NA to be bringing Freeze Mage. Maybe he scouted him out from the past and knew that he's a Freeze Mage player, so he decided to go with like Warrior.
Yeah, Warrior definitely seems like it's going to work out now. I mean, it's a risk throwing out the Freeze Mage when you know Warrior's still up. Like, Druid was out of the way, but yeah, this is the risk now. The chance of running into Warrior, and things are looking great for the Banana Slugs as they're already up 2-1, and what a lopsided matchup this is. I mean, Freeze Mage versus Control Warrior, it's like 95% in favor of the Control Warrior. Yeah, and depending on your list, it can just be 100% if you have like everything that gives you
if you're
armor.
running like double shield block, double shield
Bash,
maiden, double
like
bash, all the
just to
armor
card
gain
true
cards.
card. Yeah, and I mean,
It also depends on the Freeze Mage list too, because some Freeze Mages now have been transitioning a bit faster, so they are running a bit more draw. They don't run the heal bots, and they're running like the torches. So if the Freeze Mage is running that kind of list, they can actually have a fairly close game against the Control Warrior if they could get the right cards to line up.
yeah, I mean, I think Freeze Mage actually does end up getting close to winning a lot of the time against Control Warrior, but I mean, sometimes, yeah, it's just a straight stomp. There's no chance for the Freeze Mage, but every so often, like especially with cards like Archmage and Tinnitus and stuff like that, the Freeze Mage can just get enough burn to pressure the Warrior down to a pretty low health total, but the Warrior, a lot of the time, does feel comfortable.
Yeah, especially with the Freeze Mage's hand right now, it's very clunky with a bunch of freeze and 2 secrets. Ideally what the Freeze Mage wants to do against Control Warrior or against any matchup really is to get their early minions, like their 2-drops, their Mad Scientists, their Loot Hoarders, draw into their card draws like Arcane Intellect, Acolytes, and then gradually just play your minions, get all your burn spells scattered together so you could get them reduced by Emperor Thorson. Then you play the Antonitis and play all your cheap reduced spells so you could get a bunch of fireballs, and normally that makes the game a bit close. But here for team leader NA, he's debating if he should just play this heal bot for Temple.
Yeah, and you mentioned Emperor Thorson. Another thing that could potentially help in this matchup is Malagos, if he's playing that sort of list. Since, you can combo those cards together, make all your Ice Lances cost 0, your Frost Bolts cost 1, and your Malagos cost 8, if things line up that way. And that can have a huge impact in the matchup. It's still, once again, unfavorable for the mage, but it can have an impact, and it can sometimes lead to victory.
Yeah, I think last turn I actually wouldn't have minded if he played the heal bot just for Temple, because the warrior would have been on 5 mana, meaning that if he wants to kill the heal bot, he would either have to have the War Axe, or if he's playing Deathbite, he can't armor up that turn. Instead, it lets him just be able to play this Acolyte and armor up, and Team Leader NA might just play the heal bot anyways. So it might have been better to just play the Temple heal bot, and then this turn he could have went for double secrets or so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could just throw that heal bot down. You're not really missing a whole lot by not healing for anything.
Yeah, because
Like
the
a,
warrior's not going to do that much damage to you
yeah, I
anyways.
mean, a 5 mana 3/3 isn't great, but whatever. Team leader just throwing down his Doomsayer now. Usually it doesn't get much value on this matchup because it just dies. Like Doomsayer on a good board never survives against Warrior. Like rarely, because Warrior
Yeah.
just has so much removal.
Yeah, either the warrior's not going to care if they don't have that many minions on the board, or they're just going to execute it or shield slam it.
Yeah, Wizard Larry actually choosing to add a little bit more to the board here. He might as well execute this. It looks like he's gonna coin out the armor up.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If he's already going to play the Armor Smith, he has to kill this Doomsayer, because one of the cards you do care about getting Doomsayer is your Armor Smith. You want to make sure you want to get some value off of it, get some extra life.
Yeah, just to be sure. I mean, he did get a whirlwind proc, or I guess revenge, for 2, so 2 extra armor gain there, and just having the threat of the armor smith in play now is such a headache for Freeze Mage because Blizzard doesn't kill it even at 3 health. Like usually the best answer is Flame Strike or a Frost Nova Resolve Doomsayer, but that's really hard to do, like we were saying earlier. And Team Leader, I mean, playing this Acolyte out is really risky because not only is there like an armor smith in play, I mean, I guess he's gonna freeze if he does this, but there's a very high chance Wizard is just gonna make him overdraw with this Acolyte.
Yeah, the tricky thing with the Acolyte here is that he you really want to draw more than one card off the Acolyte in this matchup, but in this situation he can't draw more than one card by the ping, otherwise he's just going to get milled. So instead he's just playing the Acolyte without pinging it, which leaves it open to just the War Axe or the Deathbite to kill it. And so
Yeah,
in the end he's only drawing one card off the Acolyte.
and he actually ends up using an Ice Lance there too to kill off the armor smith. I mean, it doesn't feel good, but I guess it's okay. And another thing it says to me is that this most likely isn't Malagos if he's making that play because you wouldn't really want to lose one of your key burn spells
Yeah,
at this
and we
point.
see the Antoninus here now, so I think that just confirms that he's not playing the Malagos version, because from all the lists I think that includes Malagos, they're either counting the Pyroblast or the Antoninus. So it looks more like looks like he's just playing a standard Freeze Mage. This is going to be actually pretty interesting if he does decide to play the Blood Mage Thanos here, because I feel like if he wanted to play Thanos, then he might as well had waited last turn and just played Thanos Blizzard to clear the Armor Smith and the Acolyte Pain.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting choice now to play the Blood Mage. Team leader throwing out some more pings, making that armor a little bit lower. But okay, just a card True Heart picked up now for Wizard Larry.
Oh man.
Not only that, but he has a Shield Maiden in his hand, and this does not bode well at all for Team Leader, who's already at a pretty disadvantageous position
I mean,
against the
one
Warrior.
other way the Freeze Mage could play this matchup potentially is just try to fatigue out the Warrior. I've seen it happen a couple times, but it's really hard to do. Especially because he already committed into going for cycling through his deck.
Right.
So he decides to use a Frost Nova and a Doomsayer here to try to get rid of this board. What do you think about this play of trying to use the Doomsayer now?
I mean, like you got to use it at some point. Like I think another thing is he's just trying to empty out his hand a little bit for like the potential Archmage Antonidas draw slash Arcane Intellect or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Um, and he just doesn't have a whole lot to do. He could have Blizzard and Pinged, which did seem fine, but I opted to go with the Frost Nova Doomsayer instead.
Bro.
I mean, yeah, I don't completely agree with it, but wow. That's a little bit awkward, but I
35
mean,
mana for your board to just die
he's
anyway.
still got the really strong hero power, which is all he's gonna need, I think.
Yeah. Oh wow, so team leader NA is playing 2 Blizzards, the Conan Code, and an Explosive Sheep. So I doubt he has a Flame Strike in this list. It looks like a deck that's built to beat decks more like Paladin and Zoo. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got a lot of freeze.
Explosive Sheep is just a nice tech card, especially against the decks that flood the board early.
Mm-hmm.
I can still do some decent work in other matchups, but it's so nice to have an Explosive Sheep as like a consecration on turn 4 in some matchups.
Yeah, I really like the Explosive Sheep too sometimes. I normally cut like the second Blizzard or the Conan Code for it though. So yeah, he might actually be cutting the Pyroblast from his list too then. If he's playing all these cards.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I've seen a lot of people try a lot of different things with Freeze Mage lists. Cutting Pyroblast is definitely one of them. I know I've done that before,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of times, depending on like what the meta looks like. But yeah, Wizard Larry, just picking team leader's poison here, picking it for him. Like, there's so many ways he could take this and just still be in a great position to win the game. And team leader just looking for a miracle at this point. He's going to need a really strong Antonidas to be able to win this matchup. And even
Yeah,
then, it's still
even
an
then-
uphill battle.
The fireballs are really just netting 2 damage on Wizard Larry because of the tank up healing 4 every turn.
Yeah, it's just this matchup is just so brutal. And once again, I mean, talked about it earlier on. You bring out the Freeze Mage when you know the Warrior is still up, and just get straight up punished for it. So brutal.
So Wizard Larry does decide to forfeit the tank up this turn instead just play the Dr. Boom here. I think I would have preferred just going for the Sludge Belcher armor up just so you could get the extra 4 life every turn.
Yeah, 4 is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. I would have gone with the Sludge Belcher as well for that 4 extra health. Dr. Boom isn't accomplishing a whole lot here.
I guess he's starting to think that he has plenty of life. He just wants to just get this game over with and start pressuring with Dr. Boom. Normally I like
Yeah.
Dr. Boom too because I like Dr. Boom near the end because it stops your opponent from being able to clear the board because the Boom Boss will just pop you. Or it won't even pop you, it'll just kill you since if the Boom Bots hit your face for your life to go to 0 and you have Ice Block on your turn, you're going to lose.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is like the Freeze Mage is usually ahead in fatigue. Like right now he's 5 cards ahead for like the fatigue battle. So that's pretty much always going to work out. So I don't think there's any rush here. But maybe Wizard Larry, feeling a little tired, wants to get the match over with.
We're just seeing at least Starseeker here. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. This isn't really the matchup for it, but
Yeah.
it would be cool to see a Golden Monkey. I think we've seen... I think there was actually a game where we saw 2 Golden Monkeys in one game, or 1 Golden Monkey. The second one was never drawn. But yeah, Alex Straza gonna put Wizard Larry all the way down to 40. Still got a ways to go here. And a big game hunter just to salt the wound a little bit now for team leader. I mean, Wizard Larry with all the answers. He's got the tank up. He's got the Loatheb, as if he actually needed it. I mean, looks like a
Yeah.
good time to play it to me.
And he even has execute for the Antonidas set up with the Deathbite Whirlwind.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs to take this game. Lotheb looks great here. You've got a strong board, and that's usually the best time to play Lotheb, just when you want to maintain a bunch of threats that you have assembled.
Yeah, for sure. I think he already saw two Frost Novas come out from Team Leader, and if he had played a Lotheb, he could probably just pop Team Leader and start closing out the game within 3 turns or so.
Right.
He decides to take it slow, which I don't blame him. He's in a really good spot. He doesn't want to just overcommit too much, lose his entire board. Because one way you can lose as the control warrior is when you just run out of all your threats, and then the freeze mage is still left with one of their big minions, and you can't kill it, and then it just snowballs from there.
Yeah, I mean that does come up sometimes, but I feel like for Wizard Larry, he's past that point now. I mean, they're getting closer and closer to fatigue. He's got so much armor, and he's got Execute to deal with Antonitis, which is pretty much the last thing he needs to worry about, the last threat.
Yeah, he hasn't even seen Emperor Thorson reduction yet, so he doesn't even have to worry about Antonitis netting too many fireballs.
Right.
Team Leader NA does have a Flame Strike. So he's running 2 Blizzards, a Flame Strike, a Kona Code, and an Explosive Sheep. I'm not sure where he had room to fit all this.
Yeah, maybe he cut like an Acolyte or a Loot Hoarder.
Yeah, he would
I've
have to
seen-
cut one of those draw cards, since he still has the heal bar as well.
Yeah, I've seen people cut one Acolyte before, which is alright. Sometimes your hand actually gets too full as Freed Mage, and then you can't play anything, so
I think for the
I think
longest time,
it's reasonable.
the longest time I played 2 Loot Hoarders and 1 Acolyte, and then just recently I switched back to 2 Acolytes and 1 Loot Hoarder.
Yeah. Acolyte is nice when you need to get your hand filled up a little more. Like Loot Hoarder, you know, it just cycles, it's good for that, to thin out your deck a little bit, but Acolyte, a lot of the time it does give you like actual card advantage.
Team Leader NA goes for the second Blizzard here. I think he's supposed to ping the Belcher so he can clean up the slime.
Yeah, at this point he's probably just banging his face against his keyboard and I don't know, like just trying to figure out how he's gonna win this matchup. Like, oh man.
Well, if he has a second Flame Strike, he can clean up the board again. Which...
Wizard Larry is almost up to 80 HP though. I mean, I guess he's like at 68 total HP.
I'm almost thinking if Team Leader NA here should start using his burn spells to possibly just clean up these minions, which he does use the Fireball off the Shield Man, which I think is correct here. Just try to grind the game out and hopefully have an Antonitis with a spell to carry the game.
Yeah. If he has a card in his deck that gives him like a spare part and it gives him like the stealth one, then maybe he would get enough fireballs to bring Wizard Larry down to like half health.
I think
I
if
mean-
Wizard Larry gets a bit anxious and he plays the Golden Monkey before he sees an Antonitis, and Antonitis can stick on the board and just
Right.
start fireballing everything, maybe he could win.
Yeah, that is actually an actual way that Team Leader could win. So we'll see if Wizard Larry starts to get a bit frisky with the Golden Monkey and just decides to throw it out there. I mean, I doubt it. Like, he's got to be thinking about Antonitis, but
Yeah,
I
he
guess
doesn't
it's
see it
possible.
Even if he goes for the Golden Monkey, actually, Team Leader NA's just got 1 card left in his deck, so by the time he starts gaining advantage off the Antonitis, if this case actually happens, he might just die from fatigue anyways.
Yeah. Yep, so Team Leader is in fatigue now. He's just going through the motions at this point. I think once he sees the execute, there probably will be a concession. I mean, at least I hope there will be. Because this game has gone on long enough, I think.
Yeah, this is the best time for him to play the Antonitis because he's able to freeze the face, so he locks out the execute, so he has to just pray that Wizard Larry doesn't have any of his shield slumps.
Yeah.
Which he does.
He could also bash execute. I mean,
Yeah.
or he could play a War X and execute. There's a lot of ways he could do it, but
He had a slim chance of this Antoinette surviving. But as we can see from Loser Larry, he just show slimes the Antoinette for a casual 48 damage.
team leader still just holding on to hope. Okay, I was gonna say he's got 3 fireballs and his opponent's at almost 70 health. Yeah, he does grace us with the concession this time around. I mean, I kind of want to see the Golden Monkey get played, but
Oh yeah. Go ahead,
Wizard
Monkey,
Larry-
always fun.
Wizard Larry takes it for his team. That's going to be a 3-1 win for UCSC Banana Slugs over California State.
This is actually the win they needed to get them out of the group stage, I believe. They are 3-1 in groups now, so I believe you just needed to win 3 games in the group stage to move on to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that should almost guarantee it. I don't want to say for sure, but yeah, I mean 3-1 looks great. Looks great for them. And yeah, we're gonna get ready to move on to our next match here. It is going to be UCLA versus Harvey Mudd. These schools are both doing pretty well this season. UCLA is currently at 3-0 and Harvey Mudd at 2-1. I think we're going to jump to a quick break and be right back for this next series. So please stick around and hope you guys are enjoying the stream.
And now for our spotlight. After his unforgettable debut, Time, here is his second single. Featuring vocals from Sebastian Lind, this is Into the Wild. Enjoy.
Don't be afraid of the dark. I'm gonna hold your hand wherever you are. Let's get lost tonight. Let's go somewhere. Let's get wild tonight. Let's run away from here. Let's get lost tonight. Let's go somewhere. Let's get wild tonight.